Moving to a new city was an adventure my sisters and I had been eagerly anticipating. As we pulled into the driveway of our new home, a grand, old house that looked like it had stories to tell, we couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. The architecture was charming, with its tall windows and intricate details that hinted at a history we were eager to uncover. It felt like stepping into a fairy tale, and I imagined all the fun we would have exploring every nook and cranny. The interior of the house was just as enchanting as the exterior. The wooden floors creaked under our feet, and the scent of fresh paint mixed with the faint smell of age filled the air. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting warm beams that danced on the walls. It was easy to forget that this house was over 100 years old. It felt vibrant and alive. My sisters and I rushed from room to room, claiming our spaces with giggles and excitement, while our parents exchanged smiles, sharing in our joy. Our family dynamic felt strong in this new environment. My mom and dad seemed more relaxed here, free from the tension that had hung over us in our old neighborhood. We spent the first few days unpacking, laughing, and enjoying each other's company as we decorated our new home. There was a sense of unity in the air, an unspoken promise that this would be a fresh start for all of us. Little did we know, however, that this beautiful house would soon reveal secrets that would shake the very foundation of our newfound happiness. The nights in our new house were stiflingly warm, making it difficult for my sisters and me to get comfortable. As I lay in bed, I could hear my oldest sister tossing and turning in her bed, clearly unable to sleep. The air felt heavy and thick, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. I tried to focus on the gentle sounds of the night, the chirping crickets outside, the distant rustle of leaves, but my mind couldn't help but drift toward the unease that lingered in the corners of the house. As the nights wore on, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. I started to notice strange occurrences, like the faint creaking of floorboards that seemed to echo through the hallway, or the whisper of something just beyond my hearing. Sometimes I thought I could catch a glimpse of shadows moving in the periphery of my vision, but when I turned my head, there was nothing there. It felt as if the house was alive, and the comforting walls that once felt so inviting now seemed to harbor secrets that were slowly revealing themselves. The door to our bedroom stood ajar, allowing the dim light from the hallway to seep in, but it also left us feeling exposed. I couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability as I lay there, the warm breeze doing little to ease my discomfort. Every creak of the house felt amplified in the silence, heightening my anxiety. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew that something about this place was off. As I closed my eyes, hoping for sleep to come, I couldn't help but feel that we were being watched. One night, as I lay in bed, I suddenly felt something brush against my feet. At first, I thought it was my oldest sister playing a prank on me, trying to scare me into sleeping. A soft laugh echoed in my mind, and I turned, ready to scold her for being so annoying. But when I looked over, I saw that she was fast asleep, her back turned to me. The warmth of her presence reassured me, but a creeping sense of unease washed over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off in the room. As I lay there, my heart began to race. The sounds that had accompanied our restless nights, whispers, soft giggles, had faded into an eerie silence. The house felt still, too still, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I strained to hear anything, a sign that I wasn't alone, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart echoing in my ears. It was as if the shadows around me were deepening, pressing in closer, heightening my paranoia. In a moment of defiance against the discomfort gnawing at me, I decided not to pull the sheet over myself. I left it at the foot of my bed, a barrier I was willing to forego. Despite the sweat trickling down my back, the fabric lay there, a reminder of how exposed I felt, and yet I couldn't bring myself to cover up. Every small sound felt amplified. Every creak and whisper sent chills down my spine, feeding the growing tension in the room. I felt as if the darkness was taunting me, daring me to give in to my fear. Then, just as I was beginning to drift into a fitful sleep, I felt it again. This time, a more insistent pressure on my feet. It was a deliberate touch, a poke that sent me bolting upright in bed. I squinted into the darkness, my eyes wide with confusion and fear. My heart raced as I fought the urge to scream, the realization dawning on me that whatever was touching my feet was not my sister at all. The atmosphere in the room thickened, and I knew then that something was very wrong in this house. Just as I settled back into bed, still shaken by the mysterious touch, I felt something, a soft weight, like a sheet being gently placed over me. The warmth enveloped me, momentarily providing a false sense of comfort. But then, through the heavy blanket of darkness, I heard a voice, low and chilling, whispering directly into my ear, "Cover yourself, or he will get you." The words echoed in my mind like a death knell, sending a jolt of terror through my entire body. It wasn't just a warning, it felt like a prophecy. Panic surged within me as I shot up from the bed, my heart racing and my breath quickening. I desperately looked around the room, searching for any sign of my sisters or my parents. I could hardly process what I had just heard. The voice lingered in the air, wrapping around me like a shroud. I felt completely exposed, and instinctively, I clutched the blanket to my chest, wishing I could disappear into its folds. I stumbled towards the door, desperate for reassurance, but as I reached for the handle, my heart sank. I found it firmly shut. The isolation pressed in on me, an oppressive weight that made it hard to breathe. What's going on? I thought, my mind racing with possibilities. I knocked on the door, calling out for my sisters, for anyone, but all I heard in return was the heavy silence of the house. It was as if the walls themselves had closed in, sealing me off from the world outside. A sense of dread coiled around me, tightening with each passing second. Then, breaking through the silence, I heard them, footsteps. Slow and deliberate, they echoed from the living room, growing closer to my door. My breath caught in my throat as I felt the panic clawing at my insides. Who was out there? Was it my family or something far worse? I pressed my back against the wall, every muscle tense, as the footsteps paused right outside my door. I felt like prey, trapped and vulnerable, waiting for whatever was lurking in the shadows to reveal itself. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart, the events of the previous night replaying in my mind like a twisted nightmare that refused to fade. I hesitated for a moment, gathering my courage, before approaching my parents in the kitchen. "Did either of you come into my room last night?" I asked, my voice shaky and uncertain. Their faces turned to me, a mix of confusion and concern etched on their features. "No, honey, we were exhausted and didn't leave our room at all," my mother replied. Their denial only deepened the pit of fear in my stomach. I recounted the strange occurrences, how I felt something tugging at my feet, the voice warning me, and the footsteps that echoed through the house. With each word, I could see their expressions change, from disbelief to worry. "We've heard those footsteps too," my father admitted, glancing at my mother as if sharing a silent acknowledgement of something unsettling. It dawned on me then that we weren't imagining things. Something sinister had woven itself into the fabric of our home, and it felt more real than I ever wanted to admit. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house shifted. The once welcoming walls felt suffocating, and I could sense the anxiety weighing heavily on all of us. I began to notice more strange happenings, doors creaking open on their own, whispers slipping through the hallways when no one was there, and a chilling sensation that wrapped around me like a cold embrace whenever I was alone. Our family home, which was supposed to be our sanctuary, had transformed into a place of fear and uncertainty, the walls echoing with whispers of an unsettling past. Finally, after much discussion filled with fear and concern, my parents made the decision to move. As we packed our things, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. We were leaving behind a house that should have been filled with laughter and love, yet it had become a prison of terror. Walking out of that door for the last time, I glanced back at the old structure, now a silhouette against the morning sun. I knew I would carry the memories of what happened there with me forever, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places.